And while you're coming, again, this is just how we do it in the Philippines. And I love it because everyone gets to participate in worship, not just the ones up front. Come on up here. Wherever you're comfortable standing. Come on up. Wherever.
Sing of him who first loved me, for he left bright worlds above, Lord, high on Calvary. I will sing of Jesus' love, endless praise. His heart now give, he has died, that I might live. I will sing his love to me. Oh, the depth of love divine, earth and heaven can never know. How that sins as dark as mine can be made as white as snow. I will sing of Jesus' love, endless praise. My heart shall give, he has died, that I might live. I will sing his love to me. Nothing good for him I've done. How could he such love bestow? Lord, I own my heart is one. Help me now my love to show. I will sing of Jesus' love, endless praise. My heart shall give, he has died, that I might live. I will sing his love to me. Ladies'
I'd like to say a big thank you to the ladies and visitors of Goldendale Adventist Church for special music. Let me get set up real quick here. Is the monitor good? Yeah, if we could put it here. Is my mic on? Hello. Is it on? Is my mic on? Okay. Welcome again to the Goldendale SDA Church. I'm so delighted to see each one of you. And many of you know that my husband Ray and I have spent some time in the Philippines over the last 1.5 to 2 years, not quite 2 years. And I would just like to give you a little report on what we've been doing and how the Lord has been blessing there. I work for an organization called Farm Stew Philippines. We have been starting the Farm Stew in the Philippines. It hasn't been there yet, so mostly Farm Stew is situated in Africa and South America. So we are opening a new branch in the Philippines, and I'll be telling you more about Farm Stew as we go forward. Farm Stew is an acronym that I'll tell you about, and this is just a collage. Oh, I don't have any pictures up here. Sorry about the technology. I'm very happy to have these other gentlemen here to help me figure it out. So, Farm Stew is an organization that really works to empower and teach the people who Jesus would, in the Bible, talks about the least of these, my brethren, the poor, the forgotten people of society, and we'll be showing you more pictures. This is a snapshot, really a collage of many of the villages, and the children that we've served over the last year and a half. So why do we need an organization like Farm Stew? Because it's humanitarian in nature. We deal with the felt needs of people around the world, especially hunger, poverty, and disease. In fact, as I'll show you later, the main problems in poor countries around the world is those three issues: poverty, hunger, and disease. Many times when we go in to share Christ, there's prejudices in different communities. Some of the communities, most of the communities we serve are animist in nature, meaning they worship the spirits around them. They have a belief that at one point in ancient human history, in their culture, there was a separation. There's a true God, but there was a separation somehow. And they no longer are able to have access to God. And so they do their prayers and their incantations, their sacrifices to what they call the lesser gods, like the god of the rice, the god of the thunder, the god of the frog god, the water spirit, whatever. And that's who they do their sacrifices and prayers to. And they have lost the understanding over time that they also have access to God. Not sure what's going on with our pictures. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to go ahead and they're going to catch up on otherwise we won't get through this. As we mentioned earlier, poverty, hunger, and disease are the main problems around the world amongst the poor people. That is the biggest killer of children under the age of 5. In fact, 1 in 11 people worldwide are under the poverty level. And does anybody know what the poverty level is established by the World Health Organization? They live on less than $2.15 a day. So I want you to take a look around this room and count briefly. Every 11th person, every 11th person of you, according to the world, the statistics, would be living on less than $2.15 a day. That's a struggle. Even in poorer countries, to live on $2.15, you don't have enough to feed your family. And then if you need to buy school supplies on top of that to send your children to school, if you need to pay for electricity, many of them don't have electricity or gasoil. Okay. So to be able to just merely survive, if they don't have a garden, they don't have enough to eat. Okay. You can. So let's talk a little bit about hunger. Millions of children under the age of 5 worldwide are affected by stunted growth and wasting caused by malnutrition. Millions of children around the world. Now that means, many of us look at the children. The World Health Organization has a standard. If children should go, no matter what their genetics, they should grow at a certain rate. Children, you'll see pictures of them, look fat and healthy. I'm looking at a picture of one right now I wanted to show you. They look chubby, but they have, especially African descent, Asian descent with the black hair. You see the red tinted hair. That's a sign of malnutrition, even though they look chubby and healthy. That's because that's what we call a hidden type of malnutrition. Hidden malnutrition is a lack of vitamins and minerals. So they have enough starchy food, the white, the cassava, the taros, the sweet potatoes, but they don't have the fruits and vegetables to give them the nutrients they need. So you see the typical red hair, hidden malnutrition. In Africa, you see a lot of the protein malnutrition where you have the swollen bellies and the skinny legs and the puffy feet. In Asia, it's often the hidden malnutrition. I'm hoping you can see this picture. Low-income countries, in low-income countries around the world, 71.5% cannot even afford to have fruits and vegetables on their plates. So they eat the starchy foods, the rice, the white rice, the cassava, anything that's easy to access. And half of all children deaths around the world, half of children deaths from all causes, is because the result is linked to malnutrition. So let's just see if we can get this picture up. I'll show you what I'm talking about. My apologies here. That's okay. Okay. All right, we'll move on. Okay. Now, in the communities that we serve, between 30 and 60% of their children that they birth die because of preventable diseases. And those preventable diseases are related to poverty, hunger, and disease. Now, if I usually in this stage in my talk, I have a representative for a mother and a father come up. I would wonder if I could have a volunteer just come up and stand up front. Somebody come and stand up and prepare yourself because I need 10 more volunteers. So mother and father, and if I don't have any, I'll start pointing fingers, okay? So come stand up here, a mother and a father, okay? Thank you. I got one. I need a father. Okay, I'm going to ask you to come because I know you're a father. Right here. Yep. Okay, now I need 10 children, and it doesn't matter what age you are. Okay, we have a mother and a father. Hi. Right here. Just stand right here. Come, bring your children, Okay, I'm going to start naming names. I need Laura to come up. I need Andrew's wife, Rochelle. I need Andrew and Alicia and Brenda. I'm going to call you because I know your names. Let's see. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need 2 more. 2 more. 2 more. Can you come up? Yeah. And Corey, you can come up too. Okay, so we have a mother and a father here. Okay, and these are their 10 children. Now, in the countries that we serve, between 30 and 60% of their children die before they reach the age of 5. Okay, so mother and father, I want you to look at your children here. Which one of those would you choose to lose? None of them. None of them. It's a struggle and it's a deep anguish to know that, as many of these children that I'll birth, how many will survive? Between 5 and 6. Yeah. It's an illustration. You can go back to your seats. So for me, that's not acceptable. Okay? What is the cause of their early death? It's preventable. It's unclean water sources, so contaminated water that causes diarrhea. Lack of proper sanitation. Many of these places don't have latrines. They don't have clean water. They don't know about washing hands. The chickens and the dogs and everything comes into their house and walks on the floor. Then they sit on the floor and they put their hands on the floor and they eat without washing hands. And diarrhea is one of the biggest killers. Many of them, as I mentioned, they don't have latrines. We're working in villages right now that don't have any latrines, maybe 1 or 2 for 100 houses. It's not acceptable. I showed a picture up there earlier that there was a toilet in the middle of the village, no walls. The government actually put that toilet in for that village of these displaced villagers, and they didn't know how to use it. They ended up getting plugged up. The water source is a good 20 minutes hike away each direction to go get water. Who's going to carry water to flush a toilet? Nobody. They have barely enough water for their cooking and their drinking. I'm so sorry. Do you want to just take the thumb drive up there and do it from there? Would that help?
If you'd like, we can do that.
I don't know how to get it out of there. Never mind, it's okay. So, yeah, there you go. Where is it? Is it right there? No, it's not there. I don't know where it is. I don't know how to find it. We'll just... I don't know. So let me talk a little bit about Farm Stew. Farm Stew is an acronym. Acronym farm and stew has very little to do with farming and very little to do with stew. It's just an acronym, okay? F stands for farming or growing your own food, okay? Doesn't mean a big field. It means growing a kitchen garden, something that you can grow fruits and vegetables. Villagers that learn to grow their kitchen garden are required to grow at least 3 types of vegetables or fruits, and they have to be at least 3 different colors. And the reason for that is all vitamins and minerals that we get come from fruits and vegetables. Okay, the fruits, we have a picture. I wish I had put it up here, but it's a rainbow of fruits and vegetables, red vegetables and fruits, orange vegetables and fruits, red, purple, green, blue, all those different colors. And each color of vegetable has different nutrients that our bodies need. So we teach our villagers to eat by the rainbow, is what we call it, eating rainbow foods. So in our kitchen gardens, we teach them to grow 3 different kinds of vegetables or fruits, 3 different colors. Okay. And thank you, Andrew. And so that's F in Farm Stew. A is attitude. Attitude is, what we say with Farm Stew is that if we can help people change their attitude about what they need to, we can change anything for them. We can help them change anything. But unless they're willing and interested, no change will ever be made. No lasting change will be made. So attitude is a foundational letter for what we do. R stands for rest. Rest, it's not just about Sabbath rest, resting and worshiping God. So much more. What about, with no birth control, what about the mamas who give birth to one baby after another? And they're cooking over their wood fires, they're gathering, trying to have a garden and gather food and raise their children and whatever else work they need to do, and having one baby after another. So rest also includes a rest for the mother. So child spacing. It includes allowing the land to rest so that it becomes more productive. So R stands for rest. M stands for meals, and that's kind of ties in with the farming. Meals, eating nutritious meals. This is where the rainbow foods come in. So S for stew stands for sanitation. This is where we have a big breakdown in health amongst the villagers where we serve. Sanitation, as I mentioned earlier, diarrhea is one of the number 1 killers. A simple, preventable disease that kills children. We have a village we're working in right now. Thank you. I have a village we're working in right now called Natampod. Natampod is a village created by 3 smaller villages. These 3 smaller villages lived deep in the mountains, hours of hike from the end of the road, from the trailhead. And they... Okay, thank you. They had an outbreak of cholera in their villages because of poor sanitation. And the people became so sick, with cholera, you have profuse watery diarrhea, and you can actually die very quickly with cholera. People started dying, and the witch doctor cast their, incantations and their spirit sacrifices, and to no avail. They weren't able to stop this sickness. And eventually, the witch doctor gave up and said, I think the spirits are angry, and the only way they will be happy again is if we burn our village and move somewhere else. So these villages, they burned their houses, all of their belongings, and they picked up, their cooking pot and a blanket, whatever, their machete, and they moved to Natampod, where it's a kind of 3 villages in one. But they didn't change any of their ways of living because they didn't know. So, the diarrhea kept, not the cholera, but they escaped the cholera epidemic, but they still had the problems with the diarrhea. So when we knew about this village and we went and talked to the chiefs, asked them if we could introduce Farm Stew, they loved the idea. And they said, we don't know what to do to help our people. Can you help us? So we started Farm Stew. Currently we have 4 missionaries there, a couple that is focusing on the Natampod villages, and then we have 2 other couples that work farther into the mountains. The first, because their biggest problem right now was the sanitation, no toilets, just the time that we prepared the house for our missionaries to live in. It was a space of 3 months, I believe. We had 4 children die from diarrhea. 4 children. Now, if you push that out over 12 months, how many children would that be? Can you imagine? So we focus first on sanitation. An easy way to do that, you'll see pictures of it later, is to show them how to make it easy for them to wash their hands. We have what we call tippy taps. That's a little device that's designed to make washing hands easy using the least amount of water possible. We have solar dish drying racks, which is a rack outside in the sunshine where after they wash their dishes, they put them out for solar sterilization. Simple interventions that actually make a difference in people's lives. One of the guidelines that Farm Stew uses in their interventions is it has to be accessible to everyone. You can't say, I can't do this just because I don't have money or I don't have, it has to be accessible to everyone. So some of our interventions are quite simple, but if they're effective, it doesn't matter. We talked about sanitation. Temperance. We all know about temperance, abstaining from the things that are harmful and using wisely the things that aren't. And we talk about alcohol and tobacco. We talk about our tempers. We talk about pornography. People who, as poor as they are, they have phones. They don't have a signal, but they have a phone, and if they go to the lowlands, they can download things on their phones. And the young people especially are falling to things like pornography. So we talk about temperance. Enterprise is a big deal. Now, enterprise is typically thought of as a business. While we teach good business skills, primary business skills, and we also teach what we call the money map. The money map is put out by Crown Financial, and it's really teaching lessons on good money management. People in these villages come from cultures where trading is used to be the primary way of getting what you needed. So you have sweet potatoes and I have firewood. I need sweet potatoes and you need fire, so let's trade. That's a great system. But when they get a job or the government gives them some money for whatever reason, They don't know the value of it, and so they go down and spend it on useless items, and it doesn't go towards feeding their family. So we teach principles of good money management, about the value of money, how to save, how to budget, knowing the difference between needs and wants, things like that. And by the time they're done with those lessons, they're ready to start the lessons on enterprise. The last one is clean, safe water. Like I mentioned earlier, water in the tropics is often, easy to get, but it doesn't mean it's safe to drink. And helping them develop safe water. Now, one of the things that we are very, very careful with Farm Stew is making sure that we preserve that we build dignity and self-respect amongst our people. It's easy for those of us from outside of their culture to say, well, I have some used clothes. I'll go and give them some used clothes. Or we say, let's get together and put all of our money together and let's do a feeding program. And while feeding is so important, meals and nutrition is so important, that's happened so long over the years in their culture that they've come to expect that this feeding and the giving by people in the lowlands, that they've come to expect or understand that they can't do it. They, need you to help. And so it's really lowered their self-respect and their self-esteem, their dignity. So by instituting plans, so while we do feeding programs, we may get the community together, and together we work at cleaning the village, or together we work at digging rubbish pits, or together we do this, and then we all eat together. That's a feeding program that restores dignity and self-respect. Or we have this village of Natamput I was telling you about. They, somebody donated bags and bags of used clothing. It's easy just to give them away, but instead we talked about how can we do that in a way that restores dignity and self-respect. And so the missionaries put word out in the village, we're going to have an exchange day, and we'll have some clothes and seeds and things like that to give. But if you want any of those, bring something you can trade for them. And so even the smallest children, the youngest little 4 or 5 years old, we have pictures dressed only in a shirt or dirty shirt or whatever they have, coming with their bundle of firewood that they can change and get a shirt or get a pair of pants or, a jungle leaves, some leaves from the jungle that they eat, a type of leaves that they eat, bringing a bundle of those, and so they can get a shirt. And the things that they pay for that way, they take care of, they respect, and it's amazing the transformation that just giving a little bit of dignity and self-respect back to them and saying, you're important, and I think you, I think you are bigger than, what you thought you were, is very important. I just want to show you this picture back here. See the children here. They look nice and healthy, don't they? But look at their hair color. This is what I'm talking about with hidden malnutrition. Their hair turns red because of vitamin and mineral deficiencies. They're eating lots of starchy food, but no colorful foods. So we teach a specific method for kitchen gardens. Here's one of our trainings that we had. We teach how to build a kitchen garden that has certain spaces. It has certain measurements that allow for good circulation and decreased like fungus, things that can grow amongst your garden and destroy your plants. So therefore decreasing the need for fungicides and things like that. It's one of our trainings. We're teaching our learners about how to make tofu, soy milk, all these high nutrition foods, and soybeans are something that they can grow themselves. So far in our training, just in 24 and 25, we've trained approximately 72 missionaries that can share the message of Farm Stew. We've deployed 8 teams, so that 8 teams each have 3 villages each, so Actually, some of them have 2 villages. So right now we're working in 18 villages around the Philippines, mostly in Mindanao and Palawan. But we will be expanding to the other islands. The Philippines has a total of over 7,000 islands. So how do you get to those islands or steep mountains? How do you get to them and share, and to help them is a challenge. So just with these 18 villages, between 900 and 1,000 families are benefited. Okay, so this is just a picture of some of the partnerships that we have. We're partnering right now with SULADS, which is a mission teacher sending organization. And they send teachers to teach elementary school into the deep interior, into those far-reaching islands. And sometimes they hike up to 12 hours to get to those villages. They're very remote. So the organization that I work under I work with FarmStew, but we're under PAMAS. I'm probably 2 years ago now. Maybe many of you heard about PAMAS, the yellow helicopter that went down. That's the organization that we work under. And PAMAS then is able to fly into many of those remote villages to offer medical transport for emergencies. So SULADS, PAMAS, we work with, of course, our church organizations and conferences around the Philippines, and we also work with other missionary organizations like Mindanao Adventist Missions, etc. Our target groups, anyone that Jesus would consider one of the least of these, what he calls in the Bible. The people groups we're currently working with are the Manobo in our area, the Mandaya, which is south in Davao area, and the Palawan, which is the people group we used to work with when we were with Adventist Frontier Missions. In all, this is just 3, but in all there's 110 recognized indigenous people groups, all with their unique languages in the Philippines. So we have just barely scratched the surface. And those 110 people groups comprise about 14 to 17 million people. Here's some of the things that we've done. I don't know if you can see this picture of this house. This whole village lives in little houses like this. They're very small. They're wet and damp and dirty. So having their dishes inside is an easy way to spread germs. So we taught them how to make solar dish racks. You see 2 different ones here, where they wash their dishes and put them out in the sun. The chickens don't walk by them. The dogs don't scratch by them. All those things keep them out of range of where the germs are. And the sun actually sterilizes them. Beside the dish rack, you see the little gallon jug there. That is a tippy tap. Actually, you can wash about 40 to 50 people's hands with just a gallon of water and a little bar of soap. If they don't have soap, we can use ashes and actually work just as well. Eating by the rainbow, we teach this class, and it's a fun class because we bring different colors foods in the area that are usual in the area. And we teach them how to recognize what is a rainbow food. We talk about the rainbow in the sky. And this is a group of ladies near where we live that we taught the rainbow food. And this is what they developed. They made a beautiful rainbow plate. Addressing the problem of hunger, of course, with nutrition and how to grow kitchen gardens. This is an example of a FarmStew kitchen garden. This is in Palawan, another kitchen garden. We grow at least 3 types of vegetables. Needs to be close enough to the house so they don't have to leave the children or hike for an hour to go and get something to eat. So it's accessible and easy to get for each meal that they have. And again, of course, 3 types of colors of food growing in their garden. Sanitation. One of the problems with the indigenous people is that they cook on fires, which fire is a great, medium for cooking your food. However, it's inside the house, and the smoke fills the house, and the women especially are at risk, and the children that they carry, the young ones, are at risk for developing long-term lung disease. We have a friend in Palawan where we worked before. She never smoked. She spent all of her life working, cooking on the fire inside their home. and she has end-stage lung disease now because of fire smoke. That's a frequent problem. So we teach how to make rocket stoves. This is just one variation of a rocket stove made out of cement. We're exploring options on how to make it out of local clay. With the cost of cement in the Philippines and gathering local supplies, we are able to bring the cost of producing this down to about 25 cents, US cents. So it's very economical, but these people live right in Netampod, but if we were going to teach that further in the mountain, who's going to carry a 100-pound sack, 80 to 100-pound sack of cement in there? Not me. So we need to come up with an option, actually, that we can, and so we're exploring, how to do that with natural clay in the riverbanks and the stream banks. So these rocket stoves are actually, they're a little bit smoky when they first start up, but once that chamber heats up, they're virtually smokeless. You could have it inside your house and not have to smell smoke. It's a very efficient burner. So sanitation also encompasses menstrual hygiene. Okay, women and girls, when they have their menstrual periods, often those girls drop out of school. Now, statistics show that when the longer that we can keep girls in school, the better the outcome for the family once they get married, the better socioeconomic status that they have, the longer we can keep them in school, even if it's just elementary grades. So we want to keep those girls in school as long as possible, and just teaching them about menstrual hygiene and providing them with washable pads and teaching them how to keep themselves clean can keep them in school until they've outgrown the school system in their village. So that's these villages. This is a village. What is the name of that village? Starts with an S. It'll come to me later. Hike in only for several hours, or fly with a helicopter for 30 minutes or less. So this is a village that I went to and presented. Amazing people. This is another village. This is Michelle. She was taught in Farm Stew in our first training. And the man in the hat in the back there, he's one of the chiefs, and this is his wife. She had a skin condition. It's easy for us in the Western cultures to just bring medications and hand out medicine. But that's not a long-term solution. What happens when the missionaries go home? So we teach them how to use charcoal for infections, how to use hot and cold compresses to help fight infections, and to build immunity. We teach them simple methods that they can learn to treat themselves even when we're gone. So this is, again, they're teaching the village in Netampod how to do hydrotherapy to build immunity, how to treat coughs, things like that. So our missionaries are not there for the primary reason for evangelism. They're there for meeting the people's needs and teaching them how to be healthy. However, that's our ultimate goal, okay? That's our ultimate goal, is to lead them to Christ. So in these mountain villages, the indigenous people, the tribal people, when I was still meeting with all the chiefs, one of the chiefs raised his hand towards the end of the meeting and said, "So we know that you're Christians. Does that mean you're going to bring Christianity also?" Because they have, they deeply want to preserve their culture. And the Filipino that was with me answered very wisely, and he said, "Yeah, it's true, we're Christians, and in fact, all of our missionaries will be Adventists, but we're there to teach Farm Stew, but we're not going to hide that we're Christians, and we'll worship, and we'll sing songs, and if anybody asks us, we'll share with them." And that satisfied them. They could have pushed us out, and that's happened many times. People come in and overtly try to evangelize. They'll push them out. So our team up in Netampod decided, we have a book written about stories, and actually in these villages in this area, and it's called God Moving in Lurugan was the name of the village. God moves in Lurugan. It's stories of how God changed lives in this area when the Sulads teachers were there. So they decided to hold worships go from house to house. And they went to the chief's house one evening for worship. And the chief said, man, my house is too small for all these people. Let's go out to the basketball court. Actually, this is not the basketball court. This is like a village center. It's not that big as it looks. It's small. So they all went out there and they started telling stories of their own people, how God had moved in the past in their lives. And they had the rapt attention. In fact, it wasn't just these people. This is in the center of the village, and all around this center of the village is homes. So you see a bunch of people here, but at every home there was people sitting on the porch listening all around. And this gentleman right here, he's a chief. His name is Ansangao. Many years ago, when he was the acting chief, it was a similar situation. The Sulads teachers were in his village. And, I'm sorry, it's going late. I'll try to hurry. Ansangao was not one that joined the main group. He sat in his house and listened. And as they did their stories and teaching about Christ, there were many people who wanted to follow Christ. And so they scheduled a baptism down at the river. And at the river, it was down into the river, the pastor was baptizing the people who had given their hearts to Christ. And suddenly, Datu means chief, Datu Ansangao came forward and he started making his way down towards where they're doing the baptism. And now I forgot to give you the background to these people. These people just less than 20 years ago were still what they call headhunting. In Papua New Guinea, that's a different meaning. That means killing and eating each other. Here they don't eat them, they just kill each other. So there's tribal warfare is rampant. And any argument or disagreement or offense between tribal members, one of their warriors will go out and target and kill that person. So less than 20 years from today, they were still doing that. And it was in those days, he was one of the chiefs in charge of the killers, the warriors. He had been listening, but not actively participating in the stories of Jesus. And when the pastor was down in the river baptizing the people who had given their hearts to Christ, Datu Ansangao came down, and he had his machete. You see it strapped on him there. He came down and made his way down to the water. And, of course, the first thought of everyone was he's angry at somebody, and they tried to stop him. And they tried to stop him and said, no. He said, no, I need to go down there. And they said, it's okay, you can watch from here. Oh, no, I really need to go down there. I need to go down there. Okay, but you can leave your machete here. Oh, no, machete, if I'm going down, my machete needs to go with me. And so he went down and talked to the pastor. He says, I want to be baptized. I've been listening. He'd been in one of those houses on the side that had been listening, and he, in his heart, had given his heart to Christ. And so the pastor examined, his heart and determined that he was ready to give his heart to Christ in baptism. And they offered him to put his machete off to the side during his baptism. And he said, oh, no, Pastor, this machete has killed a lot of people. If I'm giving my heart to Christ, my machete needs to be with me, because that machete will no longer be used to kill other people. And for many years, that machete was displayed on the wall of his little hut in the village. And when anyone would come to him from the old days and say, we need to, make things right with this person, meaning to kill them, he would shake his head and point to that machete and say, no, I gave my heart to Jesus, and that machete no longer participates in that. So big witness for him, for his story. We have Sulad's Deaf School, and we like to. The Sulad's Deaf School is part of a mission. We reach out to them because they take deaf people from around the Philippines and educate them, teach them Philippine Sign Language, they also teach them music. How do you teach completely deaf people how to sing, how to play instruments? But they do. The music, the singing is, there's no tone to it. They don't know, they can't hear themselves, so it's just noise. But when I listen to their music, I can't imagine the praise that their hearts are giving to God, and it just makes me cry every time. It's beautiful. Right now, in this picture, they're playing angklongs, which is an Indonesian bamboo instrument. It's a very unique sound, and they can't hear themselves. But what you can't see is a teacher up front pointing to all the notes when they need to play them. They know the note that they're supposed to play, and as they point to the song, they play their notes, and the beautiful, beautiful music comes from those instruments. And one of the speakers at Dulat Sula's Deaf School pointed to these young people and say, you might think that they are handicapped, or that they can't do anything to serve Jesus, but through their music, they're serving people all around. Anyone that comes to visit us, and everywhere where you go, they sing. So if you say, there's nothing that I can do for Jesus, remember the Bible verse that says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And if that verse is true, and we all believe it is true, right? If that is true, we can never say there's nothing I can do. Otherwise, we are making God a liar, and we know that can't be. We also, they had a prayer request up front for ukuleles, and we did a fundraiser for ukuleles. And by the grace of God, we were able to provide for them 16 ukuleles. So right now they're learning to play ukuleles. Do it the same way with the teacher pointing. The strum when they're supposed to strum, and they hand sign, the chord names. They hand signal the chord names. So they show them how to strum the beat, and then they hand signal the chord names. So they're learning how to play the ukuleles, and they can already play several songs. So it was very exciting. I actually this is Ruth. She's the principal, and she had a very nice thank you to everyone who had helped, but I'm not able to play that, unfortunately. So anyway, just know that Ruth sends her heartfelt thanksgiving, and she said, our students are not handicapped, even though they can't hear, because their willingness to serve Jesus, it goes deep. There's a story told. There's a missionary, Richard Varberg. He was a Philippine missionary back in the 1950s. He spent like 40 years in the Philippines trying to reach indigenous people. And through his and his family's work, hundreds of people gave their hearts to Christ. Now, one day, as missionaries, we serve on whatever comes our way. And they had an old station wagon that he tried to keep up. And in the village that they worked at, there's oftentimes people needed a ride to the hospital. There's emergencies that come. So he became the ambulance. So he was working on the car one day, and a man came running up to him and said, I need a ride. He needs a ride to the hospital. I need you to take him now. And so he put the car back together quickly. They drove to the man's house, and there was his son in his 30s. Hot fever, and very sick, and couldn't open his mouth, and they to check, inside his mouth. And so they loaded him up and took him to the closest clinic, and the clinic said, I don't think you should take him to the hospital. He won't make it. Let's see what we can do here. Well, it ended up it was a tetanus infection, which was common in that area in that time. And he died, and it broke the heart of the father. And the father was not a Christian. The father, the missionary, Richard, gave him a Bible in their language and just said, this book has given me a lot of comfort. I want to give it to you as well. And to his credit, he read the Bible, and he came to know Christ. And so he, in his desire to share Christ with people that he knew, he partnered with Richard. He said, let's go and tell my friends and my neighbors about Christ. So his name was Miguel. Miguel and Richard went from village to village, and this was a lot of mountain hiking again. And they were sharing the story of Jesus. Miguel would tell his testimony of how he found Christ, and Richard would lead them to Christ and tell about salvation. Well, one of their journeys, Miguel asked Richard, said, how long have missionaries been here? And they had been there about 5 years by then. So he told them, but we've been here about 5 years. And a look of terrible sadness came over Miguel's face. You've been here for 5 years? How come you didn't come sooner? Because then my son would have known about Jesus, and he would have accepted him, and he would be in, I would see him again. Why didn't you come sooner? When I read that story broke me. Because I look at, I told you earlier, stories of these children dying in the mountains. And how can I face their parents once they know about Christ, once they know that there's a way to prevent their children from dying? How could I look them in the face when they say to me, you mean we could have known this how many years ago? Why didn't you come sooner? So that's my motivation. I want to share ways that these people can help themselves be healthy. But in the meantime, we have an opportunity to share Christ with them. So where is your mission field? Matthew 9:38 says, "Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest, that he will send forth laborers into the harvest." There's a field all around us, isn't there? Here in Goldendale and all the way into Southeast Asia and all around the world, there's a mission field for each one of us. And it doesn't matter if you can't go across the seas. You have a mission field right here. You have a mission field in your family. You have a mission field with your neighbors, the grocery store clerk, or whoever it is. There's a mission field for you, and there's a work for you to do. So, what will you say to them in the future when they say to you, why didn't you come sooner? What will you say to them? If we go out into the field, we look around to those around us, and we see the need, it's so easy for us to sit here in our church, in our comfortable homes, our comfortable workplaces. It's easy to say, there's not much out there left to do. Jesus will come soon. If you go out to the fields, like Jesus said, you'll see that their harvest is plentiful. It's ready for us, but there's no laborers to go out. So my message to you this morning is, ask God, where would he want you to serve him today? What's our prayer? I know we ran a little bit over, so I'm just going to close in prayer this morning. Thank you, Father in heaven, for the opportunity to serve you. We have so many opportunities all around us. We know, Father, that you have so much love and compassion for every person on this earth, and you've put that love and compassion in our hearts. Lord, as we go out from this meeting in this building today, help us to have eyes that are open to see the need around us, that we may give a word of encouragement, to lend a helping hand, to teach, to lead them to you. Father, we thank you for the promise of your Holy Spirit that will go with us. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.